we're jumping straight into a really intense period, the early modern witch persecution.
Right. Roughly 1400 to 1775, give or take.
And the scale is just staggering. We're talking estimates of, what, 40,000 to 60,000 executions? Mostly in Europe.
Yeah, mainly in Europe.
Yeah.
And the real peak, the most intense panic, was concentrated between about 1560 and 1630.
So our mission today really is to figure out this historical puzzle. Why was the violence so erratic?
Exactly. You'd have these huge, deadly persecutions happening right next door to places with almost no trials at all.
Was it about religion,
Yeah.
economics, something else driving it?
Well, that's the fascinating part. It wasn't a simple Protestant versus Catholic thing, which is what many people assume.
Right. You mentioned Protestant Scotland actually had a higher per capita rate than Catholic Spain.
Precisely. And then you look at their really infamous mass trials, the ones with the highest death tolls.
Like Würzburg.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Places like Würzburg, Bamberg. These were in autonomous territories run by Catholic prince-bishops in southern Germany.
So if it wasn't purely theology, what was it?
It really seems to boil down to legal and political structure, how the system worked, or maybe how it failed.
Legal structure. Okay. Unpack that a bit.
Well, think about it. Where you had strong centralized bureaucracies like the Spanish or Roman Inquisitions, they actually acted as a brake.
A break. That seems counterintuitive. Weren't inquisitions looking for heresy?
They were, but they often had stricter rules of evidence. They were often quite skeptical that you could prove widespread diabolical witchcraft according to their own procedures.
Okay. So centralization meant more scrutiny.
More scrutiny, yeah. The lethal combination was decentralization, where local courts, local magistrates had a lot of autonomy.
Like in the Holy Roman Empire.
Exactly like the Holy Roman Empire. Hundreds of small states, principalities, fragmented power. It accounted for nearly half of all executions in Europe.
And what was it about that structure that was so deadly?
Two things, really. First, this fragmented power. Second, the adoption of an inquisitorial legal process, which the empire's law code, the Carolina, allowed for certain crimes.
Inquisitorial meaning. The judge is also investigating.
Yes, and crucially, that code permitted judicial torture to get confessions, especially for hidden crimes like witchcraft.
So, torture, that's the engine.
It's the engine of the mass trials.
Yeah.
Once torture is allowed, you get confessions. And those confessions almost always named accomplices.
Who were then arrested and tortured.
And you get this horrifying snowball effect. Conviction rates in places using torture could hit 95%. It wasn't justice, it was due. It was an administrative process producing death.
We even have direct evidence of this, don't we? The Junius letter.
We do. Johannes Junius, the mayor of Bamberg, he smuggled a letter out to his daughter. Heartbreaking stuff.
What did it say?
He confessed he was innocent, but was forced under unbearable torture to confess and to name names. He even said the people who testified against him later admitted to him their accusations were all false through compulsion.
It's devastating. Okay, so the legal system, specifically torture in decentralized areas, was the mechanism. But why did it flare up so intensely between, say, 1560 and 1630?
Well, you have to layer in the broader context. That period coincides almost perfectly with the Little Ice Age.
Right. Colder temperatures, failing crops, famine.
Massive social and economic stress. When harvests fail, when communities are suffering, people look for someone to blame, a scapegoat.
And the scapegoat was often a woman.
Overwhelmingly. About 80% of victims were women, often poor, elderly, widowed, or just someone who didn't fit in, deviated from the norms.
Like that example you gave, Margarethe Hunnen, accused partly for being successful, but miserly.
Exactly. Seen as greedy, hoarding resources in a time of scarcity. That social friction gets interpreted through a diabolical lens.
We see echoes of this later, too, even in America. Salem, 1692.
Salem is fascinating because it shows a different kind of judicial failure. There, the courts made the catastrophic error of accepting spectral evidence.
Testimony about ghosts and spirits attacking people.
Yes. Testimony that the accused person's specter, their invisible spirit, was tormenting the victims. Once you allow that, how can anyone defend themselves? It led to that explosion of accusations.
And within that Salem story, there's the case of Giles Corey. That's just unbelievable resistance.
It really is. He refused to plead guilty or not guilty to the charges.
Why?
Because under English common law at the time, if you refused to plead, you couldn't be tried. But the penalty for refusing was peine forte et dure.
Being crushed under stone.
Slowly crushed to death. He endured it, apparently saying only more weight. By dying that way, without a conviction, his property wasn't forfeited to the state, it went to his children.
choosing that horrific death to protect his family's legacy. Yeah.
It highlights the desperation and sometimes the strange legal loopholes of the time.
And then jumping forward centuries, there's this really weird cultural echo, witch imagery on German currency.
Yeah, the Not-Geld emergency money issued during the Weimar Republic's hyperinflation crisis in the 1920s. Some towns put images of their historical witch trials, Hexenprozess, on the bills.
Why? What's the connection?
It seems to link that historical trauma of scapegoating and chaos to the modern economic turmoil. Like here we are again, society feels like it's collapsing, who do we blame? It taps into that deep cultural memory.
So, wrapping this up, it seems the witch hunts weren't just one thing. They were this perfect storm.
Absolutely. A storm of widespread anxiety triggered by climate change, famine, religious upheaval, hitting these specific weaknesses in legal and political structures.
Where decentralized power met the legal tool of torture, that's where the fire truly raged.
That seems to be the unavoidable conclusion. The structure of the law often decided who lived and who died.
Which leaves us with a final thought. The term witch hunt is still incredibly potent today, isn't it? We use it politically all the time.
We do. We've stripped away the belief in actual magic, mostly, but we keep the idea of a targeted, often unjust, malicious persecution aimed at a specific group.
What does it mean that we still reach for that specific historical term to describe modern phenomena? Something for you, the listener, to think about.